Hi, it's Adam here from adaminsights.com. Low light, after dark street photography is actually my favorite type of street photography. And the reason for that is I just love the different challenges of the lighting at that time. And also just the way that the lighting really gives your photos a totally different character. And to explain that in really simple and concise terms, when you're out taking photos during the day, or say inside with a flash, the light source is coming from one spot, say the sun in the sky or the flash on your camera. And so your lighting is going to be pretty uniform across all of your photos, unless you found a couple of interesting shadows. But it means that ultimately the lighting for your photos is coming from another source other than your subject. When you're taking street photos after dark or in really low light, the lighting of your photos is actually coming from the subject itself, such as street lamps, store or building windows, headlamps, signage, all of that stuff. So you actually get a really nice combination of different colors and different details and different things illuminated in lots of different ways with lots of different intensities of light and colors of light, all working together to create a very new type of photograph for you. And what I can say is that after dark, with all of these different types of lights creating the picture for you, things like your white balance just goes completely out the window. So that's why I really like after dark street photography. And I also really love the way that you can get a massive amount of detail in your pictures with really long exposures on a low ISO, where you might leave the shutter open for say 30 seconds or more in order to get an exposure. So that brings me to the main point of this video. What is my absolute favorite type of film to shoot handheld after dark? It's not a fast film. In fact, it's actually Kodak Pro Image 100. That's right, this is a 100 ISO film. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a wonderful film for taking out in the day, and it's in broad daylight or with a flash, it's a fantastic film. It's really crisp and extremely detailed because it works really well for fine details, which is brilliant. And it's also very colourful as well, so it's got a bit of vibrance to it as well. So to give you an idea on where it kind of sits in the spectrum, if you imagine if you've got, say, Kodak Portrait, which is quite low saturation and low contrast, but extremely high detail, not very sharp because detail and sharpness are different things. But Kodak Portrait is quite a low, is a very well detailed film, but also low contrast and low saturation. And then say over here you've got something like Kodak Ektar, which is very high saturation and very high contrast. Kodak Pro Image 100 kind of sits between them with a little bit more contrast and a little bit more saturation than what we're used to seeing naturally. But it does mean that your pictures are still quite sharp, they're also really well detailed, and they're colourful, and they've got a little bit of punch to them as well. So it means if you want to experiment with, say, shallow depth of field, or you want to do some landscape stuff, or you want to work with a lot of colours in your pictures, it's actually a really cool film. And the other really interesting thing, and this is the most unique character of the Kodak Pro Image 100, is actually given away by the design of the box. Notice it's been marketed for wedding photographers. Wedding photographers, especially in, say, places like Europe and North America, tend to work in really challenging lighting environments, like in a church, which is traditionally quite dimly lit. So they're working with really wide open spaces with quite narrow windows. And so this film actually works really, really well in low light and with just natural and available light. What's really smart about the chemistry of this film is that it keeps the shadows really wide open and with detail in the shadows, and it also stops the highlights from blowing out as well, so you maintain quite a lot of detail in the highlights. So that's actually something that means this film, for taking photos in low light, after dark, out on the street, it's a really wonderful combination. So obviously you're going to have to use a nice fast lens with this. So the photos that I'm showing you here were all taken using the Leica 50mm f1.4 Summilux lens, so we're getting a lot of light into the camera. The shutter speed was sitting at about 1/50th of a second for pretty much all of these shots. These shots have not really been edited. I haven't brought up the exposure or the shadows or done anything with them. These are straight out of the high-res TIFF scans, which I got back from Photoco after the film was developed. So this is actually a really interesting, really cool low-light film for shooting handheld after dark in natural and available light, and especially when you're working with a lot of light from a lot of different sources like store windows, signage, headlamps, street lamps. And if you really want to create some really nice, interesting shots where you've got lots of different types and colors and intensities of light coming in at lots of different angles as well. I'll talk a little bit about this particular shot. This was taken at 28mm, stopped down to f16, and there was a few different versions, some taken at 30 seconds, some taken at a minute. Because we've stopped the lens right down, that's how we've got that starburst effect going on with the light, but we've also got some beautiful details going on because this is such a wonderfully high detailed film. And we've also got a nice bit of sharpness in there, nice punchy colors, contrast as well, but the shadows are still quite open and also the highlights haven't peaked. So if you're looking for a really nice, fun, interesting film that's going to let you take some really nice, interesting images, especially out and about, handheld, after dark, and you want to experiment with different light sources, different intensities and colors of light and different types of light all coming together from your subjects to create a really nice, interesting image, you can't go past Kodak Pro Image 100. It's a wonderful film, and it's also really competitively priced as well. So happy shooting, guys.